Hello, everyone. My name is Preston Dennett, and thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today about my research into UFOs and extraterrestrials and the state of ufology today. I've been researching UFOs since 1986, when I found out that my family, my friends, and coworkers were having encounters. I quickly became a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, and have since written more than 100 articles and 32 books on this subject. I think this is a very important subject, and everyone in the world today deserves to know the truth about UFOs. The first thing I'd like to point out is that UFOs are seen all over the world, in pretty much every country. There is a worldwide database of well over 1 million encounters. So this is not at all uncommon. A lot of people are having these kinds of experiences. Another thing I'd really like to talk about is that there is far more evidence to prove the reality of the extraterrestrial presence on our planet than most people know. It's not just eyewitness testimony. There's all different kinds of evidence. Some of the evidence includes photographs and films. There are also many cases involving radar returns and radar tracking these objects. There's another form of evidence called landing traces. This is when the grass or vegetation becomes depressed or even burned by the presence of a UFO. There are many cases involving electromagnetic disturbances, where people's car engines perhaps stall, or a TV or radio will fuzz up, all different kinds of effects on various electromagnetic machines. There are, of course, cases involving physiological effects. In these cases, people are perhaps healed of an illness when a UFO shines down a beam of light on them. There are a few cases of people who've experienced minor burns, like a sunburn or something to that effect. But this is another form of evidence that is often overlooked. There are even cases of implant removals, strange objects that are put in people's bodies that when removed show to be quite unusual. The point is there are all different kinds of evidence. Animal reactions is another type of evidence that we often hear about. Even animals know that these objects are in the vicinity. For example, dogs will bark, or horses and cows and other farm animals will react in strange ways to the presence of a UFO. This evidence is important because it shows that there is not just eyewitness testimony to support these kinds of stories. Now, having researched cases of direct contact, people who have been taken on board, I think now we as researchers have a pretty good understanding of the extraterrestrial agenda, why people are being contacted on this planet. And if you take an objective look at the sequence of events that take place during an onboard experience, you will see a very prominent pattern of events that are actually really good for humanity at large. There is a lot of fear, confusion, and disinformation surrounding this subject. So I think it's very important that people understand this. One of the main things that happen when people are taken on board is that they are physically examined. This is probably the most common experience, and it's also perhaps the most frightening for people. But what's really interesting is that in these examinations, it's essentially a medical checkup. In fact, there are hundreds upon hundreds of cases of people who have been healed of a wide variety of conditions, illnesses, and even chronic diseases. Most major researchers across the world have multiple healing cases. So this is definitely one of the ET agendas. Another reason people are taken on board is to be taught by the ETs, guided. We see many, many cases where the ETs will discuss a person's personal life, about perhaps where they're living, or the job they have, or the relationships they're in. There's a very personal aspect to many of these UFO encounters. Another agenda is to teach people. It's not unusual for a person to be taken down to what we would call the engine room, and the ETs will explain in detail how these craft are powered. This is usually an explanation somewhere along the lines of harnessing our planet's magnetic gravitational field lines, or using free energy or anti-gravity. It all depends on how educated a person is, on how well they understand the information that the ETs are trying to impart. Another thing that they will do is take people up to what we would call the control room and explain to them exactly how they fly these craft, which is very interesting because it's pretty much in every case using psychic abilities. These craft themselves are living beings, embodied, very much like we embody our own physical body. This is an important detail because many witnesses describe this. Another very interesting thing that happens is that people will be taken to an observation deck. The ETs will open up a window and show the person a star field, or perhaps a picture or a view of our own planet, the planet Earth, or the moon, or even other planets within our solar system or beyond our solar system. They are very much interested in educating people on a wide variety of subjects. Another very interesting event that happens when people are taken on board is that they are given warnings of various kinds. This is coming from all different types of ETs, whether it's greys, mantis beings, human-looking ETs, tall whites, little blue beings. All the different types of ETs are giving the same message. And these messages are very consistent and usually involve warnings against nuclear proliferation or the use of nuclear material in any capacity. The ETs are also very concerned about war and aggression, how we are treating ourselves, each other, and this planet. They warn people about greed and corruption in government. They warn people about pollution and the destruction of the environment, and will actually show people future disasters that could happen if we don't change our ways. As you can see, these are all good things for humanity. Another message people will often get is that the ETs and humans share a common heritage, a common ancestry. The ETs will tell contactees, we are you, you are us, we are one. Our relationship to the ETs is much closer than people imagine. They are not that much different from us. They're simply people very much like humans, but from other planets. This is certainly what my research has shown, and this is certainly what most contactees have reported. Another very interesting thing about ET contact is that the vast majority of contactees report a wide variety of paranormal and psychic events. It's very clear that this is also one of the ET agendas, to wake us up to our own abilities. Because people come away from UFO contact with the ability to perhaps do hands-on healing, or Reiki, or mediumship, or they experience astral projection, or precognition, or a wide variety of paranormal events. In fact, most contactees are profoundly psychic. Another interesting pattern I found is that who is having contact? Because it's evenly divided between men and women, people of all ages, people from all over the world, of all ancestries. One thing we have found as UFO researchers is that those who have contact usually have a history of contact within their family, reaching back several generations. So it appears that ETs are following certain family lines. Another really interesting pattern of contact, other than people being profoundly psychic, is that many people who are having contact are doing good work for humanity in some capacity. So we see a lot of contactees who are doctors or nurses, environmentalists, people working hard on human and animal rights, inventors, musicians, artists, writers, teachers. These are the kinds of people who are having contact, people who are working hard to help humanity. I think that's a very important point. So you can see that in a nutshell, the ET agenda is one of guiding, teaching, informing, warning, waking people up to the ET presence and to their own psychic abilities and to our close relationship with the ETs. This is very important because there's a lot of fear and confusion surrounding this subject. There is a government narrative being put forth that ETs are our enemies. Do not believe this. Our governments are covering up this subject and continuing to lie about the nature of the ET presence. They are not here to hurt, harm, or take over. They have been visiting our planet since we have been recording history, and probably before this. So the only thing we have to fear from ETs is that it can wildly change how we view ourselves and our place in the universe. But I am much more concerned about how we treat each other and how our government is lying and covering up this subject. They are the ones who are the threat. So while we do see steps being taken towards disclosure, I don't think our governments will ever voluntarily be truthful and transparent on this subject. The cover-up is still in place, and I don't expect they will ever tell the truth. So everything we know about UFOs and extraterrestrials, don't trust the government. Everything we know comes directly from one source, and that is the people who themselves have had contact. So that would be my message for everyone here tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about this. For those who are skeptical of UFOs, I would challenge you to ask your family, your friends, your coworkers, people you love and trust, and you might be surprised to find out that many of them have had contact, because the vast majority of people who have this experience don't talk about it. Thankfully, that's changing. This subject is moving into the mainstream, and it's becoming far more accepted than it used to be. And really, one of the only obstacles to open official contact is our own prejudice of people who look different, the wars and aggression that are choking this planet. So this is one of the reasons ETs are contacting people, is to help us further our spiritual evolution. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and you have a wonderful day.